what I will do. Most of the time, I'll call predominantly, I will call one more than the other. And that one that I will usually call is Megan in the form of a tiny person. I will say, Emery Grace, because she's a feisty little thing. Like, she looks sweet, but she's feisty on the inside. Y'all really know, like, there's fire in those little German eyes that y'all don't get to see, I'm telling you. And she has manifested herself into a 6-year-old form, brown-headed and curly. And so, and I say, Emery Grace, come to me, because I've got to help her handle what she can't handle for herself. I will sometimes. Gabriel gets hurt, and he's really upset about it, right? And he can't seem to calm himself down because he's excessively dramatic. I don't know where he gets that from. Guess he's like his mama too. I don't know what it is. He's emotional and passionate, right? And he wants people to know that he's hurting. So, and he's the loudest. Even when he was a baby, he had like the most obnoxious baby cry ever. You know, like, I know, don't look at me like that. I loved him. Like, I'm sure, right, that baby Josie, I'm sure that she cries and she just, you know, just the sweetest little, when it's almost like, oh, I want to hold you. Gabriel did not do that. When he was like 3 months old, he would go, I was like, what is that? Why does he cry like that? I don't even want to get him. I was like, so he still does that, except for it's way louder. Like, if he falls down on the floor, it didn't even hurt him. Like, there's no blood, nothing. It's just, oh, like, dude, stop it. You're so loud. Come to me, right? When Adeline broke her arm a couple of weeks ago, she ran, first of all, she just went back and stood in line. Listen, because the first response that most people have to hurt or pain or trouble, the first response is not to share it with somebody most of the time. The first response is human nature. When we're in front of other people, we try to cover it up. We try to conceal it. And that's what my little girl did. She fell down. She broke her arm, but because she was in front of a bunch of other people, she just ran back and got in line with a broken arm. And she was standing in line, but thankfully the coach was like, hey, do you need to go see your mom? And so she ran over to Megan, and Megan had that look that I was telling you about a minute ago. Like, you know, and so she brings her to me. And so Adeline, with a broken arm, because she's hurting, she's dealing with something that she can't handle on her own. She comes over to me, and what do? I take her arm, her broken arm, and I hold it in my hand. Because sometimes, listen, only the Father can fix your brokenness. You can't hold it up on your own. You can't handle it on your own. But listen, for the rest of the night, I walked through the hospital. I held her on the way. I walked her out to the car, and her little arm sat in my hand because she couldn't hold it up. I was willing to stand right there and hold it up for her. But don't only come to God whenever everything's hurting or broken. You know when else my children come to me? When they're excited about something. Daddy, look at this. Look what I made. Look what I did. To celebrate something with them. At what point did we stop running to our Father in celebration or in need? You know why they come to me? Because I am their daddy. Because I know better what they need than they do. So Jesus, in verse 27 of Matthew chapter 11, he says, my Father has entrusted everything to me. No one truly knows the Son except the Father. And no one truly knows the Father except the Son. That's that isolated claim that I was telling you about, that absolute claim that Jesus made in his ministry that separates him from any other system of faith. That he says the only way that you can know God is through me, because I'm the only one that knows him. And to those whom the Son chooses to reveal, watch this, verse 28. Then Jesus said, come to me. All of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your soul. You're going to see this for the rest of this service in the scriptures. Come to Jesus and receive rest for your soul. I want you to notice that rest for your physical body and rest for your soul are not necessarily the same thing. Rest in your soul is being at peace in your heart. It's laying your head down on your pillow at night and having rest in your soul, in your desires, in your emotions. It's waking up in the morning and having invigoration for your day, inspiration for your day, because you know who formed your tomorrow. You know whom your steps are ordered by. It is not waking up with anxiety to whom for your soul. Number one, conversation with God. Celebrate the birth with them. Turned 8 on their own. I have one occasion that you can tell us. Number one rule is that listen, can't blow your lid and act like a then where we're from, like, I may take some veil that Jesus removed. The girl calls him. Talk about your spouse, that your spouse is what she's calling your life. This is the relation. One day, silent with God. He had not planned. But sinned, that Jesus personally, a God that was based on works. God desires so more than your works. He, for 400 years, his son, and people would see something in Jesus that they did not possess. And they still missed it. They still missed it. Even when Jesus would go down to the Jordan River, and he would be baptized. And for the first time in 400 years, God spoke audibly. For the first time in 400 years, people heard the voice of God. And listen, this is the voice of God. This was the thing that he decided to say after 400 years of silence. This is the thing he's trying to say to you this morning. If you came into this place thinking you have not been able to hear from God recently, thinking that God is not speaking into your life, that God is not paying attention, this is the thing that broke the silence. He looked down from heaven and he said, "This is my child. This is my son. I love him and I am pleased with him." Why? Because of who he is. He hasn't even done anything yet. In fact, the only thing that Jesus had done up to that point is not do anything that he's supposed to. He hadn't accomplished ministry. He hasn't set out and performed any miracles. And it was before Jesus ever did one thing for God that God looked down upon his son and said, "This is my child. I love him and I am pleased with him." You are his child when you come to him. God is trying to speak to somebody today. He's trying to say, "You are my child. You are my son. You are my daughter. I love you. I am pleased with you. There is nothing else that you need to do that would change the way that I already feel about you. You can bring me your miracles, your ministry, or you can bring me your mess, and I will still love you the exact same way because I love him." We must come to Jesus if we want to see the Father the way that he did. We've got to come to Jesus if we want to see our Heavenly Father in the same manner. Why is this so important? Because our view of God will determine our approach to God. We're going to talk about that more this afternoon in our Freedom small groups. Men meet in the Student Center at 4. Women are meeting in the office at 4. Our view of God will determine how we approach him. If we still see God as the giant, faceless figure on the throne and ourselves as those little people in the tracks, that are at the bottom of his feet, like he's Abraham Lincoln in the monument, and then we are just those little people, and he looks down upon us. And then you've got some of the people that are like coming up in the air, these little old tracks. So we used to have these little people that are just flying up in the air, and then some of them are upside down, and they're falling away and falling into the lake of fire. And it's, "If you believed in him today, if you had to faith." That's how we see God, as this God of judgment and anger and wrath. And I'm not saying that he won't be that way, but we're not in that period yet. We're still in a period of grace and dispensation, a period of love and opportunity. He will stop. He will stop what we are doing in order to speak to who we are. I want to talk to you just for like 2 minutes on how you are doing versus what you are doing. And here's all I'm really speaking to. If you look up here on the screen, how you are doing, that represents your being. And I say this often to people, so you've probably heard me say this if we've ever had a personal conversation. We are human doings. No. We are human beings. How we are doing is our being. What is our doing? Listen, doing does not flow from being. I'm sorry. Who we are does not come from what we do. What we do comes from who we are. So our being does not flow from our doing flows from our being. Everything that we do, the way that we act, the heart behind which we operate, how we do something is just as important, if not more essential, than what we do. Sometimes He will interrupt our success, our duties. He, Jesus, and I am confident, gave Him silence and said, Jesus, I don't want to know us